Deep in the picturesque countryside of Dorset, England, stands the Bettiscombe Manor, an historic building that holds one of the UK's most bizarre and chilling relics, a human skull with an infamous reputation. This isn't just a grim historical artifact, it is said to be the legendary screaming skull of Bettiscombe, a relic whose very movement is believed to unleash poltergeist chaos, death, and misfortune upon all who reside nearby. Today, we're diving into a factual history and fascinating folklore surrounding this notorious object, exploring the tragic story that gave rise to the legend and the surprising forensic evidence that completely reshapes this mystery. Only on this episode of The Daily Strange. Hello everyone and welcome to The Daily Strange, my special October 2025 video every single day throughout the month, focusing for the Halloween season on cryptids, monsters, and the supernatural. I am your host, John F. Murs, author, actor, adventurer. So, the legend of the Screaming Skull is strongly tied to the Pinney family, who owned the manor for centuries. The story, popularized through generations of local tradition, claims the skull belongs to an enslaved black man brought back from Barbados by John Pinney in the 18th century. After years of servitude, the man became ill. On his deathbed, he allegedly begged his master to ensure his remains were shipped back to his homeland to be buried. However, after his death, whether due to convenience or simply indifference, the man was instead buried in the local churchyard. According to the legend, immediately after this burial, the manor and the surrounding area were afflicted by strange noises, illness, and general misfortune. When his body was exhumed, a terrifying noise, described as a perpetual scream, emanated from the churchyard. The terrified Pinney family finally brought the man's skull back into the manor, where it was placed in the attic, and the disturbances reportedly subsided, but only if the skull was left untouched. The factual core of the haunting lies in the numerous documented attempts to remove the skull. According to local historical accounts and folklore recorded over the 19th and 20th centuries, any effort to take the skull away, whether for burial or removal from the property, has been met with catastrophe. Screaming, violent poltergeist activity, inexplicable deaths of livestock, and even local crop failures were blamed on the skull's displeasure. Legend says that its spirit will not rest unless its remains are sent back to Barbados. This powerful local legend stood firm until the 1960s when modern scientific investigation offered a powerful counter-narrative. The skull, which has remained in Bettiscombe Manor, was finally examined by forensic anthropologists and pathologists. Their findings threw the entire folklore into question. The scientific analysis determined that the skull actually did not belong to an 18th century man of African descent. Instead, the forensic evidence suggested the skull belonged to a Caucasian female, or possibly a male juvenile, with a slight build. Furthermore, some analyses suggested the skull was actually prehistoric, possibly dating back to the Roman period or even earlier, having been perhaps a relic or unearthed during the manor's construction. This factual anthropological report creates a profound paradox. The enduring legend of the enslaved man from Barbados, whose spirit screams for his homeland, is directly contradicted by the forensic evidence pointing to a Caucasian person of uncertain ancient origin. The mystery is now twofold. Whose skull is it really? And what is the source of the poltergeist energy that has terrified a community for centuries, tying itself so strongly to a specific, but likely false, origin story? The Screaming Skull of Bettiscombe Manor remains secured, a tangible historical object wrapped in a haunting legend. It stands as a powerful example of how folklore, fear, and a tragic sense of injustice can attach itself to an object, creating a haunting far more enduring than the forensic facts would suggest. And side note, if there was any real credence to this, like after the first series of weird events, dude, just spring for the money for the trip back to Barbados. Get rid of the thing. Anyway, we can go into that another time. That's going to do it for this episode of The Daily Strange. Please be sure to like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any of my new chilling episodes. And I will see you tomorrow for another episode of The Daily Strange.